Welcome to Dating Older Women. Today, we're diving deep into a topic every man has faced at some point. It's about those moments when you feel disrespected. I'm not talking about loud arguments or shouting matches. I'm talking about the subtle, yet stinging moments when she, either intentionally or unintentionally, crosses a line, making you feel diminished. Perhaps she interrupts you in front of her friends. Maybe she makes fun of you in a way that feels more like a jab than a joke. Or perhaps she just starts treating you as if you were easily replaceable. Most men try to fix it with explanations, long talks, or by trying to prove their worth. But here's the raw truth. The more you speak, the more she knows she has the power to drag you into her frame. The true power isn't about convincing her that you are valuable. It's about moving in a way that makes her feel the cost of losing you, without you lifting a finger to give explanations. It is a silence that hurts more deeply than any argument, an absence that speaks louder than 1,000 text messages, and a self-control that cannot be removed from her head. In this video, Dating Older Women will show you 5 silent moves based on Stoic discipline that change the script without anger, without drama, and without breaking your own frame. They are not insignificant games. They are strategies that not only change their perception, but also elevate you as the man who commands respect wherever he goes. If you ever wanted her to feel that sharp, deep regret without you raising your voice or seeking her approval, you're about to learn exactly how. Let's get started. 1. Cut access without prior notice. When a woman has disrespected you, the most immediate instinct for most men is to react. You want to send that long text message explaining how you feel, call her and demand an apology, or stay and clarify things. But the point is, none of that works. Why? Because the moment you react, you confirm that she still has control over your emotional state. That's not power. That's giving her the very validation for which she was testing you in the first place. On the other hand, the most effective measure you can take is to cut access completely and without prior notice. Without announcements, without explanations, without grand dramatic farewells, just disappear. Imagine James, 46, a successful real estate agent from Dallas. He had been dating Claire, 38, for a few months. Initially, things were great, but slowly, Claire began to chip away at him. She started making small, backhanded comments during conversations, subtly mocking his baldness in front of her friends, and making ambiguous remarks about his work hours, implying he wasn't dedicated enough. At first, James, being a calm and composed man, tried to brush it off with a laugh, hoping she would get the hint that her comments were unwelcome. But the comments didn't stop. They intensified, becoming more direct and personal. One Saturday, after she openly questioned his integrity during a group dinner, even suggesting he might be cutting corners in his business, a blatant attack on his character, James did not argue. He didn't pull her aside for a heated discussion. He just took her home, gave her a polite goodnight kiss on the cheek, and left. The next morning, all her calls and text messages went unanswered. His social media presence went silent, and his availability disappeared. He didn't block her. He just became utterly unreachable, a ghost in her digital world. This is where the true power of cutting access resides. You are not punishing her. You are demonstrating through silence that disrespect has a consequence. And that consequence is the loss of your presence. You are not negotiating your value. You are demonstrating it. From a Stoic perspective, this is pure discipline. Seneca once said, "The brave is free." By moving away from the situation without seeking her validation, you free yourself from the emotional control she once had over you. You reclaim your autonomy, the part that men most underestimate here. This sudden absence forces her to confront her own behavior. Without resistance, without discussions, just space where your energy used to be. Women realize when a man they once had instant access to suddenly becomes unattainable. That absence triggers reflection. She may begin to relive the last interactions, to question what she said and why the energy shifted so abruptly. It is part of human nature to desire what is no longer available. And when you move away from her reach, you become what she can't stop thinking about. She starts to replay the scenes in her mind, analyzing her words, her tone, her actions, trying to pinpoint the exact moment she pushed you away. The silence forces her to sit with the discomfort of her own actions and their direct result. Now, this only works if you truly commit to it. You can't cut access for 3 days and then eagerly answer a "Hey, stranger" text because you feel lonely. That's not discipline. It's a test of wills, and once you give in, the effect disappears. The power comes from coherence. When James disappeared from Claire's orbit, she didn't know how to handle it. A week later, he received a long message from her, half apology, half confusion. But by then, James had already moved past her in his mind. Cutting access wasn't about making her chase him back. It was about protecting his self-esteem and refusing to stay where he was not valued. It was about choosing himself. If you have ever had to move away from a situation to protect your respect, leave it in the comments. I choose myself. Because at the end of the day, cutting access without prior notice is more than a simple silent movement. It is a re-establishment of the balance of power. You are no longer in her frame. You are in your own, and that is where true respect begins. 2. Level up in silence. There is a particular type of regret that hits hard, and it is not caused by words of anger or grand confrontations. It is the regret that flows when someone realizes they have underestimated you, and now you have become someone they can no longer even reach. That is what happens when you level up in silence. Most men make the mistake of trying to demonstrate their worth directly to the woman who disrespected them. They will talk about their plans, their new goals, or how they are working on themselves. But this is the truth. When you tell her what you are doing, you give her the opportunity to underestimate it, to subtract importance from it, or even to sabotage it with subtle negativity. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "Do not explain your philosophy, embody it." Here, the same principle applies. Do not announce your next move. Do not publish constant updates or try to make sure she knows what you are doing. Just do it. Make your improvements in silence, where no one can dilute your concentration or inject doubt into your efforts. Leveling up in silence works because it moves your energy inwards. You don't move with the intention of showing her that she is wrong. You move to improve for yourself, driven by an internal desire for growth and self-mastery. That is the type of growth that lasts because it does not depend on anyone's approval or external validation. You go to the gym more regularly, sculpt your physique, and enhance your vitality. You perfect your style, upgrading your wardrobe and grooming to reflect the man you are becoming. You improve your professional skills, taking courses, networking, and excelling in your career. You expand your social circle, forging connections with high-quality individuals who uplift and inspire you. And you do it all without fuss, without grand declarations, without an audience. Here's the twist. Silence makes the impact stronger. She won't know what you're doing for you. She'll only see it when she least expects it. Maybe months later, when you meet at an event and it seems that you have more sharpness, more confidence, a quicker wit, Or she notices that mutual friends react differently to you, with a newfound respect and admiration. The realization hits harder for her because she was not prepared for it. It's a sudden, undeniable shift. And it's not just about physical changes, it's also about emotional and mental improvements. The man she once knew, the one who let his lack of respect slide, has departed. In his place, there is someone more disciplined, more selective with his time, and completely indifferent to her opinion. That unbreakable calm is what really irritates her, because it shows she no longer has power over your emotional state. In Stoic terms, you are practicing ataraxia, freedom from disturbances. By focusing on your own growth without showcasing it, you create a life in which her validation is simply no longer a factor. And when she ceases to be the center of your attention, she feels the profound loss of that position. The beauty of this change is that it is impossible for her to fight you. You are not entangling in discussions or trying to win her over with arguments. You are simply advancing in a way that makes her irrelevant to your progress. That is the ultimate game changer. You have ceased to be a character in her story, and you have become the author of your own. And yes, the day will come when she realizes. It can be subtle, a double take when she sees you, a pause before speaking to you, a flash of something unreadable in her expression. Or it can be obvious, an attempt to reconnect, to get updated on your life, to test if she can still attract your attention. That's when you know that silent work has been worth it. The true reward is not her regret, but your own self-mastery and the profound inner peace that comes from it. If you have ever transformed yourself without telling anyone, and you have enjoyed the quiet shock it caused later, leave it in the comments. I move in silence. Because leveling up silently is not about revenge. It is about rewriting your own standards. And nothing makes someone regret having disrespected you more than realizing that the man they dismissed has become someone they can no longer reach. 3. Stop giving explanations. One of the fastest ways to lose respect is to explain your actions too much. The more you try to justify what you do, the more you indicate that you are looking for permission or approval. And when a woman has already disrespected you, the last thing you want to do is give her that kind of influence. Giving explanations seems harmless at the moment. You may think that you are being polite, reasonable, or transparent. But in reality, you are teaching her that your decisions are open to debate. Once you start defending your choices, you have already set yourself in her frame, reacting to her judgment instead of being the owner of your path. Let me explain how this works. Robert, 52, owner of a small company in Chicago, had been dating Melissa, 41, for almost a year. Things were going well until a subtle shift began to occur after a small argument about a shared responsibility. Melissa began to criticize his weekend plans, questioning why he didn't want to go to certain social events, and even making sarcastic comments about how he spent his money, implying he was frugal or dull. Each time, Robert, wanting to be understood, responded with a detailed explanation, hoping that she would see his point of view and respect his choices. But instead of respect, the only thing he got was more criticism, more questioning, and a deeper erosion of his authority. One Friday, Melissa asked him why he didn't want to accompany her to a happy hour with her friends. Robert began to give his usual explanation. Well, I've had a really long week, and I'm honestly just exhausted, plus I was planning to catch up on some reading tonight. Then he stopped himself mid-sentence. He simply looked at her, smiled calmly, and said, "That's not what I'm going to do tonight." No debate, no defense, no further justification. He simply stated his decision as a fact and continued to scroll through his phone, completely unruffled. That little change completely disconcerted Melissa. This is the reason why it works. When you stop giving explanations, you are communicating that your decisions are independent. You are not asking for validation. You are not trying to be understood before acting. You are proving that your decisions are definitive because they are yours, period. From a Stoic perspective, it is about staying focused on what is under your control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not good, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Observe what is missing in that statement. There is no clause about convincing others that it is correct or true. The judgment of your actions comes from you, from your internal moral compass, not from her or anyone else. The power of this strategy does not reside in arrogance. It is certainty. It is the calm confidence that says, "I know who I am, and I do not need to submit my decisions to anyone else's filters." And that is incredibly disarming for someone who is used to influencing you or poking holes in your self-assurance. Now, this does not mean that you become cold or stubborn. You can continue to be polite and warm without ceasing to be firm. The key is to replace explanations with concise statements that close the door to debate. Instead of saying, "I'm not going to go because I have to get up early, and lately I've been tired, and I've already made plans," just say, "I'm not going to go tonight." The fewer words, the greater the impact. Your succinctness communicates an unshakable resolve. When Robert made this change, Melissa's tone changed over time. She stopped questioning each decision because she had no energy to feed off of. His refusal to engage in debate meant her criticism simply hung in the air, landing nowhere. The more he stopped giving explanations, the more she had to accept his decisions or move away. And as Robert discovered, when you live according to your own standards, the right people respect you, and the wrong ones naturally recede or rebel quickly, revealing their true colors. If you have ever eliminated the explanations and remained firm in your decisions, leave it in the comments. I am the owner of my decisions. Because at the end of the day, the moment you stop giving explanations, you stop giving away your authority, and that is a silence that inspires much more respect than any defense. 4. Redirect energy to a better circle. One of the most effective silent measures you can take when a woman disrespects you is to take all that mental and emotional energy that you have been giving her and channel it into a better circle of people who genuinely value you. After the disrespect, most men remain in the same social circle. They continue to appear in the same places, having the same conversations, and spending time with the same people who tolerate or ignore the lack of respect. This not only keeps you in a weak position, subtly communicating that you feel comfortable with it, but it also drains your life force. Redirecting your energy breaks that pattern, sending a powerful message without a single confrontation. You are not waiting for her or anyone else in that circle to treat you differently. You have simply moved to a new environment where respect is the baseline, not an extra you have to fight for. From a Stoic point of view, it is about controlling your contributions and associations. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." If your social world is full of negativity, superficiality, or subtle interactions that criticize your worth, you are not in a place that feeds your growth. You are in a cage of your own making. And this is the reality. When a woman sees you surrounded by people who inspire you, challenge you, and genuinely enjoy your presence, people who laugh with you, not at you, who celebrate your successes and support you through challenges, she feels the change immediately. She is no longer the center of your attention or the guardian of your social life. You have expanded your universe, and she is no longer the sole, or even primary, gravitational pull. Here is another layer. Moving to a better circle usually raises your own standards without you even realizing it. You start to have higher quality conversations, discussing ideas, ambitions, and insights rather than gossip or trivialities. You participate in activities that bring out your strengths, hobbies that challenge you, and intellectual pursuits that sharpen your mind. You meet people who see intrinsic value in you without you having to prove it or seek their approval. This, of course, makes you less reactive to any past lack of respect, because you are too busy living in a space of greater energy, purpose, and fulfillment, and the change does not go unnoticed. In fact, it is usually the silence of your absence that makes the statement stronger. She will realize that you are no longer readily available to provide her with that easy access to your time, attention, and energy. If later she sees you prospering in a more positive environment, a stark contrast is created that she cannot ignore. The man she thought she could manipulate or dismiss is now someone whom other discerning people admire and respect. This visual juxtaposition fuels her regret far more than any argument ever could. This change also generates resilience. When you link your self-esteem solely to the opinion of one person, you become fragile, your emotional state a slave to their whims. But when you are valued in multiple circles, friends, mentors, colleagues, even new romantic interests, you no longer need the validation of a single source. That's when you gain true social power and an unshakable sense of self-worth. Of course, this requires intention. You don't just stumble across a better circle by chance. You actively choose and cultivate it. That can mean joining a new professional group, getting involved in a local club aligned with your interests, volunteering for a cause you care about, or reconnecting with old friends who genuinely uplift you. The key is to be surrounded by people who bring out the best in you, not your insecurities. The most satisfying part is that you are not trying to show her anything. You are simply living at a higher level, investing in yourself and your growth. And if she sees it, it is only a side effect, a consequence of your self-respect. You are not chasing her attention. You have become part of a world where her opinion is no longer relevant to your well-being. If you have ever strayed from the wrong people and found a better circle, leave it in the comments. I choose my tribe. Because the truth is that the quality of the people around you determines the quality of your life. And when you redirect your energy to the right circle, you create a reality where lack of respect has no place. And that is a regret with which she will have to live. 5. Don't show any emotional reaction. When someone disrespects you, especially a woman you have been intimately involved with, the natural instinct for most men is to react. You might get defensive, reprimand her, or try to explain to her why she is wrong. The problem is, that reaction tells her that she has touched a sensitive nerve. And once she sees it, she knows exactly where your emotional buttons are and how to press them again, effectively gaining control over your emotional landscape. Not showing any emotional reaction is the opposite of that. It means that you absorb the moment, process it internally, and maintain your composure. You give nothing away. No visible frustration, no bitterness, no nervous laughter to alleviate the tension. You remain firm, calm, and collected, as if her words or actions simply did not have enough weight to shake you from your center. Let's take David, 47, as an example from Austin. He had been casually dating Erica, 39, for a few months. One night, during a group dinner with mutual acquaintances, Erica made a particularly biting, sarcastic comment about his work as a freelance writer, implying he lacked ambition and stability. Most men at that moment would have immediately defended themselves, launched into a counter-argument, or responded with an equally hurtful comment. On the other hand, David only looked at her calmly, maintaining steady eye contact for a brief moment, offered a slight, almost imperceptible half-smile that seemed to acknowledge her comment without validating it, and then smoothly returned to his conversation with another person at the table. He did not feed the moment with any energy, and you could literally see Erica shifting uncomfortably in her seat. She hoped he would bite the hook, but he didn't. He refused to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. This works because silence and composure steal the foreseen power from the lack of respect. When you don't outwardly react, you communicate a deep inner security, an unshakable self-worth. You are not playing her game, and you are not making her the center of your emotional state. That is deeply disturbing and disorienting for anyone who tries to provoke a reaction. Their attack has no target. From a Stoic perspective, this is emotional self-governance in action. Epictetus taught, "What matters is not what happens to you, but how you react to it." By eliminating the visible reaction, you are demonstrating complete dominance over yourself. You are demonstrating that your sense of self-esteem does not go up or down depending on the approval or disapproval of anyone, especially someone trying to diminish you. But this is the important thing. Not showing rejection does not consist of pretending that you do not feel anything. It is about choosing when and where to express your emotions instead of letting them be taken out on demand. In David's case, he processed the lack of respect later in his own mind, analyzing the situation and deciding on his next steps without giving Erica the satisfaction of seeing her words affect him. He dealt with the emotion on his own terms, not hers. The effect of this is twofold. First, it creates uncertainty in her mind. She does not know what you are thinking or how you truly feel about what she has said. That loss of control over your reaction can cause her to doubt her behavior and question her own intentions. Second, it keeps your power intact. You are not fighting to regain your dignity because, in your internal frame, you never lost it in the first place. You simply acknowledged her attempt and deemed it irrelevant to your core. And here is the trick. The fewer reactions you give, the more the lack of respect becomes a reflection of the person who uttered it. When the public sees that you are immutable, unfazed, the moment becomes a reflection of her character, not yours. David's friends later told him that they thought Erica's comment was out of place, not because he called her out, but because his calm, unreactive behavior made it glaringly clear that her words were a cheap shot. If you have ever remained firm and refused to give someone the reaction they were looking for, leave it in the comments. I remain firm. Because, at the end of the day, not showing any emotional rejection is not just about not reacting. It is about showing yourself that your center of gravity is internal, not external. And once you have it, no one can take it away from you. 6. Let your absence speak. Sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is to stop appearing, not with anger or with a dramatic exit, but with a calm and deliberate withdrawal that says, without words, I no longer need to be here. When a woman has disrespected you, she usually expects one of two reactions. Either you confront her directly, which keeps you in her orbit, allowing her to continue to engage, even if negatively, or you remain present but visibly hurt, which feeds her ego by showing her the impact she has on you. What she does not expect, and what truly alters her feeling of control, is the silent, deliberate withdrawal of your presence from her life. This is where your absence becomes a message in itself. You stop calling. You stop sending text messages. You stop appearing in the usual places where you would normally run into her. You gently, almost imperceptibly, recede from the social spaces in which she is accustomed to seeing you. And here is the key. You do it without giving explanations, without long farewell messages, without half-hearted, maybe we'll see each other later statements. You just leave, fully and completely. From a Stoic perspective, this movement has its roots in detachment from external validation and the preservation of one's inner peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul is dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you continue to situate yourself in an environment where a lack of respect is normalized, Your mentality begins to absorb that as your reality, slowly poisoning your spirit. By moving away, you protect your mental space, you protect your peace, and you ensure that your color is defined by your own standards, your own values, not by the demeaning treatment another person gives you. The beauty of this movement is that it is not about punishing her. It is about honoring yourself and your self-worth. You do not disappear with the desperate hope that she will chase you, although that often happens as a natural consequence. You disappear because you have recognized that your time and energy are worth more than what you have been receiving in return. It's a declaration of self-respect. And make no mistake, absence is felt. People don't always notice the noise you make when you're there, but they profoundly feel the silence you leave when you depart. She will feel that empty space in conversations, in social events, in the little moments where she was accustomed to you being a constant, reliable presence. That is when curiosity naturally morphs into reflection, and sometimes into deep regret. The human mind abhors a vacuum, and your absence creates one that she will inevitably try to fill. First with thoughts of you, then potentially with actions. This is not an impulsive movement. It is intentional and controlled. You don't storm off in a furious rage. You walk away calmly, with an air of quiet dignity. And that is precisely why it carries so much weight. You have fundamentally changed the dynamic from her choosing when to interact with you to the point where you choose not to interact at all. You dictate the terms of engagement by choosing disengagement. The other powerful side effect is that it changes the way others see you. Friends, acquaintances, and even mutual connections will notice that you do not stay in places where you are not respected. That creates a powerful reputation for self-respect and discernment without you having to announce it or brag about it. Your actions speak volumes, shaping the narrative around you in your favor. If you have ever moved away from a situation and let your absence speak for you, leave it in the comments. I choose my distance. Because in the end, absence is a language in itself. And when you speak it fluently, you not only leave a space, you leave an indelible impression, one that cannot be erased, no matter how much someone wants you to stay there. This isn't about manipulation. It's about self-preservation and the profound impact of showing you value yourself above all else. 7. Become the man she can't read. Predictability is the enemy of attraction. The moment she feels that she has completely discovered you, your routines, your answers, your emotional triggers, your predictable patterns, she will stop feeling the same level of respect and curiosity. This is because certainty generates comfort, and comfort without challenge often leads to complacency, or even worse, to outright disrespect. Becoming the man she can't read does not mean being deceitful or playing childish games. It means developing a life, an energy, and a presence that she cannot fully delineate, compartmentalize, or anticipate. You should feel like every time she thinks she has you figured out, you reveal another layer, another facet of your personality or life that she did not see coming. This keeps her engaged, intrigued, and constantly wanting to discover more about the enigmatic man you are. Let's take Michael, 44, as an example, from Denver. For years, he was the kind of man who replied to all text messages immediately, explained every single change in his agenda, and made sure that his partner never had to guess what he was thinking or feeling. He genuinely believed that that was what a good man should do: be open, transparent, and always available. But over time, his wife began to treat his predictability as if it were a weakness, a lack of spark. She began to underestimate his ideas in front of others, interrupting him mid-sentence, and subtly testing his patience, knowing exactly how he would react. When Michael learned the power of mystery, he stopped announcing each of his movements with a detailed itinerary. Instead of narrating his entire week's plans, he began to make spontaneous excursions on the weekends alone, exploring new hiking trails or visiting art galleries. He signed up for a kind of martial arts class without telling her in advance, simply stating, "I'll be out on Tuesday evenings for a while." He also became more selective with his words, choosing to share certain details only when they felt truly significant, rather than oversharing every thought. In a matter of weeks, she noticed, and her behavior around him subtly but significantly changed. Why? Because mystery fundamentally changes the dynamic of power. A woman cannot control what she cannot anticipate completely. When you are not sure exactly how you will respond, what you will do next, or what new interest you might pursue, she has to pay more attention, to lean in, to observe you closely. That is when curiosity replaces complacency, and the chase, ironically, begins for her. Stoic philosophy supports this approach. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content with being considered foolish and stupid." In other words, don't rush to correct her assumptions about you, or make yourself understood completely. Let her live with a degree of uncertainty. That intellectual and emotional discomfort keeps her involved much more than a constant, predictable tranquility ever could. It creates an engaging puzzle she can't resist trying to solve. The key here is balance. If you show yourself too distant, too secretive, you run the risk of appearing cold, disinterested, or even deceptive. The goal is not to leave her out of your life entirely. It is to show her that she does not have complete, 24/7 access to everything you are all the time. This means that you share parts of your life selectively, strategically, and with an air of understated confidence. Maybe you tell her about a project you're working on only when it's halfway through and already showing promising results. Maybe you go out one night with friends without giving her a blow-by-blow account of the details, simply stating you had a good time. Let's think of Dana, 39, from Austin. She later admitted that what kept her truly intrigued about a man she went out with were not the big gestures, but the fact that she never quite knew what he would be doing on a certain day. She knew he was disciplined, that he worked hard, that he had passions and a full life beyond her. But she did not have the complete vision, the comprehensive blueprint of his existence. That carefully cultivated mystery made her want to gain more access to his world, instead of assuming she already had it all figured out. When you master this, you turn the script over. Instead of chasing her attention, she begins to strive to understand you better. She invests more energy in you because humans are naturally attracted to puzzles that cannot be easily solved. That is why the moments of suspense in television programs work so well. They make you eagerly tune in again for the next episode. In the context of a relationship, that same principle makes her want to spend more time with you, to dig deeper. She begins to initiate conversations, to send you messages, or invite you to events, because she hopes that the next interaction will reveal a little more of the captivating mystery that is you. Now you have reversed the dynamic, and she is the one doing the subtle chasing. Let's be clear. Mystery does not mean lying, exaggerating, or creating a false image. It means being deliberate with the timing and the delivery of the truths that you decide to share. If the first conversation is like a trailer for a movie, the next ones should feel like new episodes, each with something fresh and engaging, but always leaving a compelling reason to tune in again. So, how do you apply this? Start by eliminating the need to fill every silence with information about yourself. When she asks you, give her enough to keep the conversation alive, but always save something for later. Share experiences in small, compelling doses, sprinkled with vivid details that create images in her mind rather than a dry recitation of facts. And most importantly, continue to live a life worth talking about. A life so rich and multifaceted that its entirety cannot be contained in a single conversation. If you have ever felt powerfully attracted to someone you didn't quite understand, you already know the magnetic pull that creates. This time, it will be you who creates that irresistible attraction. Leave it in the comments. I am the mystery. Because when you master this, you stop chasing, and she begins to chase the captivating story that only you can tell. And that, gentlemen, is a truly powerful position to be in. 8. Control the frame without words. In every interaction, there is a frame, a subtle but powerful lens through which both people interpret the moment. Whoever controls the frame controls the dynamics of the interaction, influencing how everything is perceived and responded to. Most men lose it before even realizing it. They respond to her tone instead of establishing their own. They react to her provocations instead of guiding the conversation. And by doing so, they silently hand over the power without a struggle. Controlling the frame without words is not about being cold or impassive. It is about mastering your inner state in such a complete way that your mere presence sets the tone without the need for verbal reinforcement. When you are calm, focused, and imperturbable, radiating an inner stillness, she instinctively adjusts her energy to match yours. You become the immovable object that influences everything around it. Think about it. When a man enters a room unhurried, without nervously looking around, without overcompensating with loud greetings or overly enthusiastic gestures, people notice him. His stillness and composure create a gravitational attraction. He doesn't need to announce his worth. It is communicated powerfully and subtly through his entire demeanor, his confident posture, his steady gaze. Stoicism has a perfect parallel here. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the essence of frame control. You cannot dictate her words, her mood, or her reactions, but you can absolutely own your mental and emotional space. The man who does that effortlessly becomes the reference point in any interaction, the anchor against which everything else is measured. When she tries to provoke you, perhaps through a sarcastic remark about your hobbies, perhaps by mentioning another man in an attempt to gauge your reaction, your silence, your steady visual contact, and your paused, deliberate movements say more than any refutation or angry outburst ever could. You do not allow yourself to be dragged into her reality, her emotional turbulence. Instead, she is gently, subtly, yet firmly drawn into yours, a reality of calm strength and unshakable self-possession. This is the subtle art of this. Frame control without words consists of being deliberate. Your pauses are intentional, used to absorb, process, and then respond, rather than react impulsively. Your answers, when you decide to give them, are short, calm, and delivered entirely on your own terms, at your own pace. Even something as simple as taking a slow sip of your drink before responding, or adjusting your posture, indicates that you are in no hurry to follow her emotional rhythm. You are the conductor, and she is merely an instrument. When you master this, the effect is magnetic. She will feel an underlying authority that is not aggressive or domineering, but undeniably powerful and deeply attractive. It makes her think twice before crossing boundaries because she senses that you will not be easily moved or manipulated. And what is more important, she will feel compelled to follow your rhythm instead of attempting to drag you to hers. You set the tempo of the interaction. This is the type of control that cannot be faked. It comes from being genuinely anchored in your values and not being afraid of a moment of silence or the discomfort it might create in others. That is why Stoic discipline is important. You train your mind on a daily basis to be resilient, rational, and unfazed, so that in high-stakes moments, you don't crumble or react impulsively. And here is the twist. When you control the frame without words, you often make her work harder for your verbal interaction. She will lean in, ask more questions, and fill the silence with her own effort and conversation, because now she is playing in your field, on your terms. She is compelled to chase your engagement, rather than you chasing hers. If you have ever gone through a moment in which you did not say anything, but somehow you effortlessly took over the interaction and guided its direction, you know exactly how powerful it can be. And if you want to signal to yourself and everyone else that you are committed to being that man, leave it in the comments. I am the owner of the frame. Because once you learn to control it without words, you will realize that it is not just a skill to flirt or navigate relationships. It is a fundamental skill for life, and very few men truly master it. 9. Make her chase the mystery. Mystery, at its core, is not about playing immature games or pretending to be someone you are not. It is a matter of controlling the rhythm of your true revelation. Thus, each interaction with you will feel like turning the page of a compelling book that she simply cannot put down. It's about creating an ongoing narrative, an unfolding story that keeps her constantly intrigued and invested. Too many men, when they feel attracted to a woman, let everything spill out in the very first conversation. They share every detail about their work, their past relationships, their daily routines, and even their meticulously planned future. While it might seem like you are creating closeness and transparency, in reality, you are prematurely eliminating all the tension, intrigue, and curiosity that make her want to continue discovering more about you. You're giving away the whole plot on the first chapter. The truth is that women are profoundly programmed to feel curiosity and attraction for men who leave space in the conversation, not out of fear or deliberate secrecy, but out of a deeply rooted sense of self that confidently says, "I do not need to tell the whole story of my life to gain your interest. My inherent value is enough." The man who reveals himself in intriguing layers gives her something to actively work for, something to anticipate and uncover. And that very process of discovery is what fuels the most potent and lasting forms of attraction. James, 44, from Denver, learned this invaluable lesson after his divorce. In his previous relationships, he was an open book from the very beginning, believing it was the right way to build intimacy. This time, he approached things dramatically differently. At a friend's party, he met Claire, 39, an intelligent, self-confident woman with whom he clearly enjoyed talking. When she asked him about his work as a software architect, James gave a brief, compelling answer, enough to give her an intriguing idea of his field, and then smoothly transitioned the conversation by asking her about her last travel experience, subtly shifting the focus. When she pressed to get more details about his work later in the conversation, he shared a small but vivid story about an unusual business meeting he once had in a remote cabin in Alaska, filled with unexpected challenges, and then deliberately left the rest of the narrative in the air, leaving her wanting more. Claire admitted weeks later to a mutual friend that she couldn't stop thinking about that conversation for days, trying to fill the blank spaces herself, imagining the rest of his Alaskan adventure. That, my friends, is the power of making her chase the mystery. The beauty of this approach is that it is not manipulation. It is an artful form of narration. You are simply resisting the temptation to download everything at once, like a data dump. Think of it like a high-quality complex whiskey. You don't gulp it down in one go. You savor it, appreciating each note, each layer of flavor, allowing its nuances to slowly unfold on your palate. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Silence is safer than speech until you are sure you must speak." This wisdom applies here to perfection. It is about intentionality. Speak when the time is right, when your words will have the most impact, not just to fill a void or satisfy an immediate question. You curate your narrative. Living a life that is not fully exhibited also greatly increases intrigue. In the current, hyper-connected world, oversharing is the predetermined default. If every walk, every meal, or every gym session is meticulously relayed online for all to see, there is no personal mystery left for her to enthusiastically uncover. James understood this implicitly. He did not publish his weekend excursions to remote mountain trails or his quiet night jazz sessions at underground clubs. Instead, these intriguing details emerged naturally in conversation, often in a way that generated more questions than he answered, sparking her imagination. And this is where many men misinterpret it. Holding back information, when done with confidence and a secure sense of self, doesn't make you look cold, disinterested, or aloof. In fact, it often makes her lean in more, curious about what else lies beneath the surface. Psychologically, the human brain is hardwired to solve the unknown, to fill in the gaps, to unravel puzzles. When there is a perceived lack of information about a compelling subject, we feel an almost irresistible urge to seek it out. That is why the expertly crafted moments of suspense in television programs work so well. They keep you on the edge of your seat, compelling you to watch again. In the context of a relationship, that same powerful principle makes her want to spend more time with you. She begins to actively initiate conversations, to send you messages, or invite you to events, hoping that the next interaction will reveal just a little bit more of the fascinating man that you are. Now you have elegantly reversed the dynamic, and she is the one behind the subtle chase. Let's be clear. Mystery does not mean lying, exaggerating, or fabricating a false image of yourself. It means being deliberate, strategic, and self-assured, with the timing and the delivery of the genuine truths that you decide to share. If the first conversation is about a captivating trailer for a movie, the next ones should feel like exciting new episodes, each with something fresh and engaging, but always leaving a compelling reason to tune in again for the next installment. So, how do you apply this effectively? Start by eliminating the need to fill each and every silence with information about you. When she asks you a question, give her just enough to keep the conversation alive and flowing, but always save something intriguing for later. Share experiences in small, vivid doses, sprinkled with evocative details that create powerful images and stories in her mind, rather than a dry recitation of facts. And most importantly, continue to live a life that is genuinely worth talking about. A life so rich and multifaceted that its entirety cannot be contained or fully revealed in a single conversation. If you have ever felt powerfully attracted by someone you didn't just immediately understand, you already know the magnetic attraction that creates. This time, it will be you who masterfully creates that profound attraction. Leave it in the comments. I am the mystery. Because when you master this, you stop chasing, and she begins to chase the compelling story that only you can tell, eager for each new chapter. This is not just dating advice. It's a philosophy for life. 10. Own the room without touching it. There is a certain unmistakable type of presence that commands attention before a single word is ever uttered. It is not about being the loudest person, the one who draws the most overt attention to themselves, or the one who makes the most grandiose gestures. It is about radiating a calm, inner confidence that projects so much quiet strength that people are drawn to look at you, to notice you, without you having to move a single finger to demand it. When it comes to women, this profound type of presence usually has a far greater, more enduring impact than any physical contact. Think about it. Physical touch, while powerful, is highly susceptible to misinterpretations or bad timing. On the other hand, an authentic, powerful presence is unmistakable and entirely non-intrusive. It allows her to feel genuinely attracted to you without any pressure, without you overtly crossing any lines, and without a single word being said. The effect is truly magnetic because it bypasses the usual, often awkward, social scripts. She does not respond to what you actively do to her. She responds to how you effortlessly make her feel by simply being there, by your very essence. Let's take an example from the real world. Michael, 48, enters a bustling networking event. He doesn't rush to join the closest group of people, nor does he immediately launch into animated conversations to desperately show that he belongs. Instead, he takes a deliberate moment to scan the room, taking it all in. He establishes brief, confident visual contact with a few people, offering a subtle, knowing nod, and then moves at a firm, unhurried, and paused pace towards the bar. He exchanges a brief, polite word with the bartender, adopts a relaxed posture, his weight evenly distributed, and simply lets the atmosphere and conversations of the room wash over him without needing to engage immediately. In a matter of minutes, he perceives subtle glances from nearby women, not because of something overt he has done or said to them, but because his entire body language, his unhurried movements, his composed expression, his open yet self-contained posture, indicates deep comfort, complete control, and undeniable authority over himself and his immediate environment. This is the essence of owning the room without touching it. Letting your presence, your very being, do all the heavy lifting of attraction. You don't desperately give up your power by seeking to be the center of attention. You let the center of attention naturally find you, and that, gentlemen, is deeply, profoundly attractive. From a psychological perspective, women are incredibly in tune with the subtle signs of social dominance, composure, and inner peace. When a man appears genuinely centered, effortlessly relaxed, and utterly undisturbed by the energy that surrounds him, he sends a powerful, unambiguous signal of high value. Stoics understood this fundamental truth long before modern psychology confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul is dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you enter a room thinking that you desperately need to win people over, that underlying neediness will inevitably color your presence, making you appear insecure. But if you enter with the mentality that you are already inherently enough, your presence will powerfully reflect that profound truth without you saying a single word. Part of mastering this is to learn to be supremely comfortable in moments of pause and stillness. Many men feel an almost compulsive need to be constantly doing something, laughing, joking, moving, or talking, to desperately keep attention on themselves. But the most powerful presence is found in stillness with a clear purpose. When you stay firm, you breathe deeply from your diaphragm, and you maintain a relaxed, yet attentive visual contact. You project immense force without any trace of aggressiveness. It's a quiet, formidable strength. Another crucial element is spatial awareness. Men who genuinely own a room know how to position themselves strategically, not huddled invisibly in a corner, but also not ostentatiously in the dead center, as if performing. They choose places where they can both see and be seen, which allows people to naturally approach them, drawn by their confident aura. Being the owner of the room without touching it also means that you are not actively looking for external validation. If she glances at you, you acknowledge it with a calm smile, almost an accomplice, a subtle flicker of recognition. and then you return gracefully to what you were doing. This creates a powerful sense of intrigue. She notices that you have noticed her, but she also sees that you are not going to immediately orbit around her, chasing her attention, as most men do. You maintain your inherent structure, your self-contained world, and that immediately makes you different, setting you apart from the crowd. And here is the key. It is not about arrogance, ego, or haughtiness. True presence, the kind that genuinely attracts, comes from profound self-control and an unwavering inner calm, not from a fragile ego that needs constant external reinforcement. It is the crucial difference between a man who desperately tries to show something to everyone in the room and a man who simply feels deeply, authentically comfortable with himself, regardless of who is watching. That type of authenticity is incredibly unusual in today's world. And precisely because it is so unusual, it is overwhelmingly convincing and deeply attractive. When you can attract attention and command respect without any physical contact, you are playing at a level that most men will never reach or even comprehend. You are showing her and everyone else that your value does not depend on immediate validation, physical proximity, or direct contact. It is inherent. It is powerfully embedded in the way you carry yourself, the energy you effortlessly project, and the deep, unshakable confidence you bring to each and every space you enter. So, the next time you enter a room, remember that you do not need to physically touch it to cause a lasting impact. Your presence, if you diligently cultivate it and masterfully control it, will do far more than any individual gesture ever could. And that, my friends, is the man that she will remember long after the night is over, the man she will secretly regret disrespecting. All right, gentlemen. If you have been paying close attention, by now you profoundly understand the immense power of silent movements and subtle yet undeniable domain. Each of these transformative strategies works because they fundamentally change the dynamics of the interaction without you having to over-explain, overcompensate, or overexert yourself. They give you back crucial control, not only of the situation, but more importantly, of yourself and your emotional state. If this video gave you a new, profound perspective, or reminded you of something that you always knew deep down, but perhaps forgot, then make sure to subscribe to the Dating Older Women channel right now. In this way, you will never miss the next powerful revelation that could completely change your way of moving around the world and interacting with women. Also, if you found value in these insights, please give this video a like. Your engagement helps us reach more men who need this kind of empowering advice. Don't forget to check out our playlist on advanced attraction techniques for even more strategies to elevate your game. And for those who want to take this journey of self-mastery even further, consider joining our exclusive community on Patreon, where we delve into these topics with even more personalized guidance and bonus content. Finally, remember to turn on notifications so you're always informed when we drop new, high-value content. Thanks for watching, and as always, I appreciate you being here. Keep your frame, protect your energy, and I'll see you tomorrow.